every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better.
In this lecture, we will continue our discussion on standing up an AI governance body. Just a quick note, and I'm pretty sure I've already mentioned this, there is quite a bit of redundancy built into the AIGP curriculum, specifically here in Domain 6. And so if you're glancing at our lecture outline here, most of this is going to look very familiar to you, and really the content, again, most of the lecture, at least the headlines of each one, are going to be redundant. And so we've talked about getting leadership buy-in, we've talked about involving key stakeholders, we've talked about communicating collectively. Those are things that you've seen before. However, again, just because the way that the curriculum is designed, there are going to be some new points on each of these slides moving forward that you're going to need to know for the exam. As you'll remember from the course introduction, Domain 6, with regards to its weight on the exam, is the largest part of the exam. I believe you can expect to see well over 20 questions on the exam, and so it's going to constitute more than 20% of your overall grade. For that reason, I would definitely not sleep on this particular domain. I know it's very high level, I know it's a bit redundant, but again, it's a large portion of the exam, and the review is going to be good for you. And throughout the process, I'm going to note what is new here, what you need to remember, and hopefully that makes it a bit more palatable for you. At the outset of this process, again, standing up an AI governance body, it's important that you understand your organization's operations, incentive structures, sector, and you understand the role that your organization is playing in the AI supply chain. Are you developing and deploying the technology? Are you procuring the model from a vendor? Are you deploying it internally for your organization only? Or are you going to be deploying this in a public-facing or customer-facing application? With regards to your organization's role, this is a bit of a summary of what I was mentioning in the previous slide. Remember that a developer is someone who's planning, designing, and producing the AI system. This includes the entire AI development lifecycle, which includes feature engineering, model selection, training, etc. A deployer is someone who is making the system available to third parties. For example, you're integrating the system into an existing product. And finally, a user is someone who is using the product. This can be, again, the general public, or perhaps you're developing a model for another business. And in that case, it would be something like a business-to-business solution or product. With regards to leadership buy-in, there is some specific terminology that you're going to need to know for the exam. For example, at the very top here, identify an AI champion. We've talked about the importance of getting leadership buy-in. They're the ones that are really going to make sure that you get the support throughout the organization, and perhaps more importantly, that you get the resources you need to be successful. With regards to identifying an AI champion, look amongst current leadership for someone who is already using AI. Hopefully, this is someone who can speak to the experience of onboarding the system or going through the development process. They're going to understand the value add that an AI governance body has and can help make sure that you get the support necessary for that. You also want to make sure during this early standing up period that you're able to demonstrate, not only to leadership, but to other stakeholders, the differentiating factor of responsible AI. In short, demonstrating responsible AI as a differentiator means that you're providing transparency, and this transparency is a benefit for your customers. Finally, getting leadership buy-in, again, hopefully someone who's been through this experience is going to help you and the AI governance body proactively identify challenges and solutions. This includes the importance of data science. ML Ops is an abbreviated version of machine learning ops or operations. You want to have that expertise if possible. If not, then of course you want to develop that. And then, of course, having the right software engineering expertise to help you integrate and deploy the technology. You want to have a good idea what the hardware and software investment requirements are going to be, the time needed to build the system, and of course, you want to have the expertise to understand the current legal and regulatory environment, what are the current requirements, and then what are some of the emerging statutes or regulations that you can expect in the near future. With regards to key stakeholders, there are a few different business functions that you're going to want to target early on. These include privacy, security, legal, accessibility, digital safety, and procurement. These are going to be important participants in the AI governance body. These are also going to be important sources of feedback. Other stakeholders to consider, of course, the Chief Privacy Officer, the Chief Information Officer, the Chief Information Security Officer, Chief Data Officers. If your organization has a Chief Ethics Officer or an ethics board, they're going to want to be a part of this organization. General counsel or legal, of course. If you already have a governance committee for AI or AI project managers, of course, they're going to be included. And finally, any enterprise architecture folks. Again, getting feedback and buy-in from all of these individuals and organizations is going to help you to better understand the roles, responsibilities, and resources needed in order to do this job successfully. Then, of course, there are the subject matter experts or SMEs. These include researchers, data scientists, AI and ML engineers, as well as non-AI IT engineers, people that are going to be helping to set up the infrastructure, the software, the networking, etc. 3 final points here with regards to involving key stakeholders. It's important that you understand what the pressures are going to be on the tech team to build quickly and efficiently. It's important that throughout this process that you're helping to identify risks, core principles, and practical considerations. And finally, remember, throughout the AI development lifecycle, we want to be thinking about the different metrics that we're going to use to assess the performance of the model once it reaches that training, testing, and validation stage. Similarly, if you're putting together a project plan, we want to know what the different milestones are to chart progress throughout this project. Of course, with all of these individuals and their organizations, we want to communicate collectively the roles and responsibilities for creating and maintaining an AI or algorithm inventory or repository. It's important everyone is on the same page with regards to risk tolerance, risk strategy, and the governance model. And we're going to talk about governance models next. There are 3 potential governance models. This should be new content for us now. The 3 models are centralized, decentralized, and a hybrid model. We'll talk about the hybrid model on the next slide. A centralized model is where we have one team or one person who is responsible for a project, for developing an AI system, or for the AI governance body. And everyone else that is a part of this organization, their work is going to flow through this point. Again, this one individual or one office. In contrast, a decentralized model, which is also known as local governance, delegates authority to the lower levels. This method of governance is a bottom to top decision making, whereas centralized is going to be top to bottom. As you would imagine, a hybrid model is a combination of the centralized and decentralized models. In this case, we usually have one individual or office that is responsible for the project, the system, the AI governance body, and the local entities will support this central individual or office. I want to end this lecture by talking about MITRE and MITRE's AI maturity model. Now, it's unlikely that you're going to see MITRE or this specific maturity model on the exam. However, you need to know what a maturity model is. And again, I like concrete examples. I figured this would be a really good way to introduce the idea of a maturity model if you haven't come across that concept before, and show you specifically what that looks like from an AI perspective. So as always, first, I want you to know who MITRE is. MITRE is a not-for-profit organization that manages federally funded research and development centers, or FFRDC. They support the U.S. government across multiple sectors, including aviation, defense, healthcare, and cybersecurity. On the right-hand side here, this is a cover of the MITRE AI maturity model. If I recall correctly, it's somewhere in the ballpark of maybe 50 pages. But anyway, I'm sure you could plug this in to your search engine of choice and pull it up and start looking through it right away. Again, you're unlikely to be tested on this content, but I felt that this was a really good visualization that shows you not only the structure of MITRE's specific maturity model, but then shows you the 5 different levels or tiers that show you how your organization has progressed with regards to maturity. I'm going to start all the way on the left-hand side here. You see at the bottom we have level 1. This is initial, and we progress all the way to the top to level 5, which is optimized. These are the different maturity levels, and you'll see similar, if not identical, language across all of MITRE's maturity models. So they also have one for privacy, for example. And if you're in privacy and interested in the CIPM, or Certified Information Privacy Manager certification, then we talk about that maturity model in the course. But I digress. And so an organization will grade itself on these 5 different levels, and the full maturity model document, if you go to take a look at it, will show you what it takes to get from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 4. But again, I haven't included that because it's unlikely to be on the exam. But you start at level 1 and you progress all the way to level 5, optimized. Now, with regards to what you're graded on, what you're tracking from level 1 to level 5, with this particular maturity model, MITRE has organized 6 different pillars. You can see those at the very top: ethical, equitable, and responsible use, strategy and resources, organization, technology enablers, data, and finally, performance and applications. And each of those pillars have anywhere from 3 to 4 subcategories. I'm not going to read through all of them, but just to pick on the very first one, this pillar of ethical, equitable, and responsible use, there are 3 subcategories. They include responsible, governable, and contestable. Transparency is number 2, and number 3 is human-centric, fair, and equitable. And so each of those subcategories is going to receive its own grade. You're going to add that together, or perhaps you're going to rank them independently, and that will give you a total level or grade for this one pillar. And you'll do that for all 6 of the pillars and subsequently for the subcategories as well. Again, if you're in the market for an AI maturity model, either one that's coming off the shelf like MITRE's, or you're looking at developing your own, I think this is a really great place to start. In this lecture, we have looked at different considerations concerning standing up an AI governance body. Remember, it's important that you understand the organization's operations, incentive structures, sector, and whether or not the organization is a developer, deployer, or user. You, of course, want to get leadership buy-in. This includes identifying an AI champion, demonstrating responsible AI as a differentiator, and proactively identifying challenges and solutions. You want to involve key stakeholders. It's important to engage and build on existing governance structures when possible, get lessons learned from their governance bodies, understand pressures on the tech team to build quickly and efficiently, identify risks, core principles, and practical considerations, and develop metrics and milestones. You want to communicate collectively with all of the stakeholders. That includes the roles and responsibilities for creating and maintaining an AI and/or algorithm inventory or repository. It's important to communicate risk tolerance, risk strategy, and choose a governance model. And you want to know those 3 governance models: centralized, decentralized, and hybrid. And finally, you need to be familiar with the concept of a maturity model. Again, I don't think you're going to be tested specifically on MITRE, but just knowing what a maturity model is and in general how they're graded, how they're organized is important for the exam.